India-China relations have long been complex and sensitive due to differences in territory strategy and development direction. After years of tension, recent signs of détente have emerged, such as high-level visits and Prime Minister Modi's planned trip to China. The question is, why has India chosen to ease tensions now, and is this a temporary move or the start of a new phase of cooperation? In this video, we will analyze why India has decided to cool down tensions with China at this moment. According to many regional analysts, the core reason for tense India-China relations is the unresolved border dispute. The two hotspots are Aksai Chin, currently under Chinese control, but claimed by India, and Arunachal Pradesh, administered by India, but regarded by China as its territory. This disagreement led to the 1962 Sino-Indian War, and many smaller confrontations in subsequent decades. In 1996, the two countries signed an agreement banning the deployment and use of heavy weapons along the border. However, clashes have still occurred, showing the sensitivity and difficulty of control. Another factor that keeps New Delhi cautious is the close cooperative relationship between Beijing and Islamabad. Official diplomatic relations between the two countries were established in 1951, and since then, China has repeatedly supported Pakistan both economically and militarily. According to some observers, this relationship is not only bilateral, but also seen as a tool for strategic balance in the region. For India, this is a factor that makes the surrounding security environment more complicated, forcing the country to carefully calculate its foreign and defense policies. Over the past 6 months, India-China relations have witnessed a series of intense diplomatic activities. Visits by the National Security Advisor, the Defense Minister, the Foreign Minister, and several other senior Indian diplomats to China are considered to have paved the way for leadership-level exchanges. According to diplomatic sources, the focus of these meetings was to discuss specific steps to normalize relations, including restoring the defense dialogue mechanism, strengthening economic cooperation, and finding solutions to handle hotspots along the border. Some discussions also expanded to multilateral cooperation in organizations such as the Group of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, known as BRICS, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, abbreviated as SCOs. Notably, many visits took place consecutively, suggesting that both sides seemed to want to take advantage of the current period to build momentum for new progress. Prime Minister Modi's planned visit to China in the near future is also seen as an important sign, as it will be his first visit since 2018. Alongside the visits, India's choice of wording in official statements has also changed markedly. Phrases that once reflected a tough stance, such as returning to the pre-2020 status quo, repeatedly mentioned after incidents at the line of actual control, have now disappeared from recent press releases or diplomatic statements. Instead, Indian officials use more constructive terms, such as positive trajectory, continuing dialogue, or resolving issues through diplomatic channels. This adjustment is believed to aim at reducing public tensions and creating space for both sides to discuss difficult issues within a more discreet framework. According to some regional observers, this may be New Delhi's gradual diplomatic strategy, still protecting core interests, but avoiding public pressure that could prompt a negative reaction from the other side. Conversely, China has taken a similar approach by limiting direct critical statements and emphasizing its desire to improve bilateral cooperation. Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next in-depth analyses on international relations and global issues. According to many observers, India's recent policy adjustment toward China is not an immediate reaction, but the result of a carefully considered process. This decision is simultaneously influenced by internal pressures and a rapidly changing international context. Two key groups of factors can be identified: economic and political geostrategic, which are always intertwined and mutually influential. The global economy is facing many challenges. From the lingering effects of the pandemic to the impact of regional conflicts, the pace of global trade growth has slowed, forcing export-dependent economies like India to seek more stable channels of cooperation. In this context, maintaining smooth trade relations with key partners becomes a necessary requirement to safeguard domestic growth momentum. China plays an irreplaceable role in India's supply chain. Many core industries, from electronics manufacturing, industrial machinery, and chemicals, to fertilizers and strategic minerals, depend significantly on supplies from Beijing. This reality means that any disruption in bilateral trade could directly affect India's production and export capacity. The lesson from China's restrictions on the export of certain minerals, fertilizers, and specialized equipment has shown the sensitivity of the Indian market to changes from Beijing. Not only businesses, but also policymakers in New Delhi are well aware of the importance of a stable, predictable trade relationship. As India aims to become a high-tech manufacturing hub attracting major corporations, including Chinese technology companies, becomes a strategic factor. The manufacturing of components, renewable energy, and electronic devices requires significant capital and technology, achievable only if the diplomatic environment between the two countries is cooperative and less volatile. On the international political stage, certain developments have compelled New Delhi to reassess its strategy. In the hypothetical context of this analysis, relations between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and former U.S. President Donald Trump went through tense moments, particularly after Washington imposed new tariffs on exports from India. These measures not only affected the trade balance, but also reduced expectations for stability in the U.S. market. This is one of the important reasons why India seeks to diversify partnerships, including restoring dialogue channels with China. In addition, the U.S. strategy toward Pakistan has also seen adjustments, including expanding economic and security cooperation with Islamabad. For New Delhi, this means that the U.S. is no longer entirely focused on India in its South Asia policy, thereby increasing the need to establish additional diplomatic pillars to reduce strategic pressure. A less noticed but very important factor is the difficulties in certain projects under the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, also known as CPEC. Financial and security obstacles within this framework have created a certain gap in Beijing-Islamabad relations. Some analyses suggest that India could seize this opportunity to enhance dialogue with China, thereby reducing the negative impact of the China-Pakistan alliance on its security. Finally, India's long-standing multi-directional foreign policy strategy still plays a key role. New Delhi always seeks to maintain a balance among major powers without leaning entirely toward any military or economic alliance. Adjusting relations with China while continuing to cooperate with the U.S., Japan, the European Union, and other partners helps India maintain flexibility and autonomy in a highly volatile geopolitical environment. These economic and political geostrategic factors closely interact, creating the context that drives India to change its approach to China. Recent diplomatic moves between India and China, though carried out cautiously and with little fanfare, do not merely reflect a shift in bilateral relations. According to many analysts, they are also part of a bigger picture. the shift in the global balance of power, and the process by which nations adjust their positions to adapt to a rapidly changing international environment. In a global economy that is slowing down with inflationary pressures still present in many regions and supply chains continually affected by geopolitical tensions, countries, including India, are forced to be more flexible in foreign policy. Stabilizing trade cooperation, maintaining investment flows, and ensuring strategic supplies have become top priorities. For fast-growing economies, diversifying partnerships is a vital factor to avoid the risks of dependence on a single market or economic bloc. The Indo-Pacific region is witnessing competition for influence among three major power centers: the United States, China, and India. Each country is pursuing its goal of expanding its role while seeking to maintain dialogue to avoid direct confrontation. Amid intensifying U.S.-China strategic rivalry, India's maintenance of working relations with both sides is seen as a way to preserve strategic room for maneuver, cooperating while keeping a necessary distance so as to avoid being drawn into conflicts that do not align with its national interests. Multilateral forums such as BRICS or the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, abbreviated as SPOIEO, are creating space for major and middle powers to seek new cooperation models, reducing dependence on Western-led economic and financial structures. India and China, despite many disagreements, still participate together in these mechanisms, thereby maintaining channels for dialogue and seeking shared interests. At the same time, regional trade agreements and new economic initiatives, including expanded cooperation with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, provide additional momentum for the parties to focus on long-term benefits, rather than only immediate disputes. From this perspective, India's gradual rapprochement with China can be seen as a strategic move, maintaining balance in the context of a rapidly reshaping international order while safeguarding development space and national interest in both the short and long term. One important reason compelling India to reconsider its strategy toward China is the rapid and complex changes in the Indo-Pacific security structure. In recent years, China has not only expanded its economic influence, but also increased its political and military presence in the region. Neighboring countries such as Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, and the Maldives have strengthened economic cooperation and infrastructure development with China through major projects in infrastructure, ports, and energy. These activities are part of Beijing's strategy to expand its global influence. According to many analyses, if New Delhi does not adjust its policy in time, the risk of China increasing its influence in India's traditional backyard will be hard to avoid, potentially weakening India's strategic position in South Asia and the Indo-Pacific. India faces many multidimensional security challenges that require the efficient allocation of defense resources. To the west, tensions with Pakistan remain high with border confrontations and the issue of cross-border terrorism. At the same time, India must contend with heightened strategic competition in the Indian Ocean, where major powers vie for influence and control over vital sea lanes. The pressure of military modernization is also great, as India needs to upgrade and expand its Navy, Air Force, and Army to meet new challenges. Maintaining simultaneous tensions with China and Pakistan disperses defense resources and reduces strategic effectiveness. Therefore, reducing pressure and easing tensions on the northern border with China is seen as a strategic move for India to concentrate on more critical fronts, while also creating a stable security environment for economic development and strengthening its international standing. Beyond security and geopolitical factors, many observers believe that India sees great potential in maintaining stable cooperative relations with China, especially in the fields of economy and technology, key areas that determine the nation's long-term development. China is currently India's main supplier of many types of electronic equipment, industrial components, and critical materials, such as rare earths, essential elements in the production of batteries, solar panels, and many other high-tech products. Although India is accelerating its domestic manufacturing development program, completely replacing these supplies in the short term is a major challenge due to the complexity and high costs of global supply chains. Maintaining a stable relationship with China helps India ensure continuity in the supply of these essential materials and components, while also preserving its competitive advantage in emerging industries such as renewable energy and consumer electronics. Some sources say that Indian policymakers are considering selectively opening up to investments from Chinese technology companies, especially in sectors that do not affect national security. The goal is to leverage the capital, advanced technology, and strong production capacity of these firms to promote industrialization and enhance the competitiveness of India's economy. This policy requires a stable diplomatic environment, along with strict oversight mechanisms, to ensure that national interests are not compromised. At the regional level, large-scale economic initiatives such as China's Belt and Road Initiative, along with many free trade agreements and multilateral cooperation frameworks, are expanding in scope and scale. In this context, India's maintenance of certain channels of dialogue and cooperation with China not only helps avoid being left out of influential projects, but also creates opportunities to participate in emerging global value chains and economic networks. This contributes to diversifying India's trade partners and development resources, helping to boost economic strength as well as enhance international standing in the context of increasing globalization and strategic competition. India's quiet rapprochement with China is a complex strategic move reflecting economic pressures, the need for regional stability, and flexibility in foreign policy. While the current drivers are clear, the road ahead remains full of unpredictable factors, from border situations to competition for influence in the region. In your view, will this trend of détente be sustainable, or is it just a temporary step in each side's long-term strategy? Leave a comment with your personal perspective, share the video, so more people can join the discussion, and subscribe to the channel to follow upcoming analyses on ongoing international issues.